Hello, Army. Welcome back to Taekook Update Channel. No one in that stadium was ready for what happened next. The music kept playing, the lights stayed locked on stage, but suddenly everything shifted. Taehyung paused for just a second, like he was thinking about something no one else could see, and then out of nowhere, he pulled off his shirt. For a split second, there was silence, confusion, and then chaos. The crowd erupted so loudly, it nearly drowned out the music itself. Phones shot up, people screamed, some not even realizing what they were witnessing in real time. But what shocked everyone even more was Jungkook. Standing just a few steps away, his reaction wasn't what anyone expected. He froze, eyes locked, like he couldn't believe what just happened. And then suddenly, he reacted in a way that sent the entire stadium into another wave of hysteria. Fans are still arguing about that exact moment. Was it surprise? Was it something more? Or did he know all along? Because if you watch closely, there's one tiny detail almost everyone missed. The moment didn't fade the way most viral moments do. It didn't dissolve into the next choreography or get buried under the next chorus. Instead, it lingered, stretching across the entire stadium like a shockwave that refused to settle. Even as the music pushed forward, something had already shifted in the atmosphere. Something heavier than just excitement. Something that made people hold their breath without even realizing it. Taehyung didn't rush to recover the moment. That was what made it feel even more unreal. There was no attempt to turn it into a joke, no exaggerated reaction to play it off. He moved forward like nothing unusual had happened, but that calm only intensified everything. It was the kind of composure that made fans question whether the moment had been spontaneous or completely intentional. And then there was Jungkook. At first, it looked like pure shock, the kind that hits before your brain can catch up. But the longer fans replayed the clips, the more complicated it became. His expression shifted in a way that didn't match a simple reaction. There was a pause that felt too precise, too aware. The kind of pause that made people wonder if he was reacting to the act itself or to something behind it. The camera never stayed long enough to give a clear answer. It moved, cut, refocused, as if the moment was almost too raw to hold on to. But that didn't stop fans from dissecting every frame, every micro-expression, every second that seemed slightly out of sync with the rest of the performance. Online, the explosion was immediate. Clips spread faster than anyone could track. Different angles appeared within minutes, each one revealing something slightly different. Something that added another layer instead of clarity. Some focused on Taehyung's timing, pointing out how it aligned almost perfectly with a break in the music that most people hadn't even noticed. Others zoomed in on Jungkook, slowing down his reaction frame by frame, searching for the exact second where surprise turned into something else. Theories multiplied, but none of them fully explained the intensity of that moment. Because it wasn't just about what happened. It was about how it felt. Fans who were there described it as overwhelming, like the energy in the stadium had peaked all at once and refused to come back down. The screams didn't sound like normal concert cheers anymore. They sounded sharper, louder, almost disbelieving. Even people who had seen countless performances before said this one felt different, like they had witnessed something they weren't supposed to fully understand. And yet, the performance continued. That was the strangest part. There was no pause, no reset. The choreography flowed. The vocals stayed steady. The lights kept moving exactly as planned. But if you looked closely, there were tiny cracks in the perfection. A glance that lasted a fraction too long. A step that came half a beat late. A moment where the energy between them felt charged in a way that didn't match the script. Those details were easy to miss in real time. But once the clips slowed down, once the edits started highlighting those exact seconds, it became impossible to ignore. Something had changed. By the end of the performance, the crowd was louder than ever, but it wasn't just excitement anymore. It was curiosity, confusion, and adrenaline all mixed together. People weren't just cheering. They were trying to process what they had just seen, trying to decide whether it was a spontaneous burst of energy or a moment that meant more than it showed on the surface. And when the lights finally dimmed, when the stage emptied and the noise slowly began to fade, the questions didn't disappear with it. They only got louder. Because long after the music ended, one thing remained unclear. That single moment, the one that lasted only seconds, continued to replay in millions of minds, each time revealing something slightly different, something that didn't quite fit into a simple explanation. And the more people watched it, the less it looked accidental. The aftermath didn't slow down. If anything, it became even more intense once the night was over. Clips that once felt chaotic started to organize themselves into patterns. Fans weren't just reacting anymore, they were analyzing. Frame by frame, angle by angle, the moment was reconstructed like a puzzle that refused to form a simple picture. Every tiny movement began to matter. The timing of Taehyung's pause, the exact second Jungkook's expression changed. The way the crowd surged not once, but twice, as if responding to two different realizations happening at the same time. And that's when a new question started spreading. Not what happened, but why that moment felt so different from everything else that night. Because when people compared it to the rest of the performance, the contrast became impossible to ignore. The choreography before it had been sharp, controlled, perfectly executed. The energy was high, but contained within something rehearsed. Then suddenly, that one action broke through all of it. It didn't feel like part of the performance anymore. It felt personal. Taehyung's expression right before it happened became one of the most replayed clips. There was a brief stillness there, almost like hesitation, but not the kind that comes from uncertainty. It looked more like a decision being made in real time. Something internal. Something unspoken. Something that didn't rely on the music or the choreography to exist. And Jungkook's reaction only deepened that feeling. What initially looked like shock began to look layered the more it was replayed. There was recognition in it, but also something else that fans couldn't quite define. The way his posture shifted. The way his focus didn't immediately return to the performance. The way the energy around him changed even before the crowd fully reacted. It suggested that whatever just happened, it wasn't just unexpected. It meant something. Theories kept evolving. Some believed it was a spontaneous burst of emotion, a moment where the intensity of the stage pushed everything past its limit. Others insisted it had to be intentional, pointing out details that seemed too precise to be accidental. The timing, the positioning, the fact that it happened at a point in the performance where all eyes were already locked on him. But the more people tried to define it, the more it slipped out of reach. Because the moment itself didn't offer answers. It only offered clues. Even the official footage didn't resolve anything. Certain angles felt like they cut away too quickly. Others lingered just long enough to raise more questions. It was as if the moment existed in fragments, never fully captured from a single perspective, forcing everyone to rely on pieces instead of a complete view. And maybe that was why it stayed so powerful, because it couldn't be fully explained. Days passed, but the energy never really settled. Edits, slow-motion breakdowns, and side-by-side comparisons continued to flood timelines. Each new version promised clarity, yet somehow added another layer of mystery instead. People who hadn't even watched the full performance found themselves drawn into it, trying to understand why this specific moment had taken over everything. It wasn't just viral. It felt unresolved. And that unresolved feeling kept pulling people back. Back to the exact second where everything changed. Back to the look that didn't quite match a simple reaction. Back to the action that felt too precise to be random, yet too raw to be completely planned. Because buried inside all the noise, all the theories, and all the replays, there was still one detail no one could fully explain. A detail so small that most people missed it the first time. But once you see it, it changes the entire moment. That tiny detail didn't reveal itself all at once. It surfaced slowly, almost reluctantly, as if it had been hiding in plain sight the entire time. At first, only a few fans pointed it out, buried deep in comment sections and late-night edits that most people would have scrolled past. But once it was noticed, it couldn't be unseen. It wasn't the shirt. It wasn't the throw. It wasn't even the immediate reaction that followed. It was what happened just before everything. A fraction of a second. A glance that didn't belong to the choreography. A shift in attention that felt too intentional to be random, yet too subtle to be staged. Taehyung's focus changed before his body did, and for that brief moment, the performance around him seemed to blur into the background. And then, almost instantly, Jungkook mirrored that shift. Not in movement, not in action, but in awareness. The kind of awareness that doesn't come from surprise, but from recognition. That realization hit fans harder than the original moment itself, because it suggested something far more complex than a spontaneous act. It hinted at a connection that existed underneath the performance, something that didn't need words, cues, or timing marks to function. Something that operated in that quiet space between seconds, where decisions are made without being announced. And once people started looking for it, they began to find more. Moments earlier in the performance that suddenly felt different. Small exchanges that had gone unnoticed before now seemed charged with meaning. A look held just a little longer. A step adjusted without breaking formation. A synchronization that didn't come from rehearsal, but from instinct. Individually, they were nothing. Together, they formed a pattern. The kind of pattern that doesn't confirm anything, but refuses to feel accidental. The conversation around the moment shifted again. It was no longer just about what Taehyung did or how Jungkook reacted. It became about everything that led up to it. Everything that surrounded it. Everything that might have been building beneath the surface long before the audience ever realized something was different. And still, no one could say for sure. Because for every theory that seemed to fit, there was another detail that didn't. For every explanation that felt convincing, there was a moment that complicated it again. It was like trying to solve something that wasn't meant to be fully understood, only experienced. Even now, the clips continue to circulate, drawing in new viewers who think they're about to watch a simple viral moment. But they don't leave with a simple conclusion. They leave with questions. About timing, about intention, about that split second where two separate reactions seemed to align in a way that felt almost too precise to be coincidence. And the more those questions are asked, the more that moment refuses to fade. Because deep down, beyond the noise, beyond the edits, beyond the endless replays, there's still something unfinished about it. Something that feels like it hasn't revealed everything yet. And maybe it never will. Because some moments aren't meant to be fully explained. They're meant to be watched again and again, until you start noticing things you weren't supposed to see the first time.